think we're good. Okay. All right. Welcome everybody. Welcome to this Thursday episode of Crypto with Chris. Let's see. I think it's the day before the ETF. From everything that I've read, obviously, nothing is certain, but from everything I've read everywhere on all the Twitter accounts I follow, all the experts that I follow, all the little, news sources I follow, everybody's saying pretty much across the board that the ETF approvals will come tomorrow and that they will go live. The markets will go live on Monday. So I think we're seeing that here a little bit in price action today. I feel like everybody gets that, and that's become the general consensus, and everything is up today. And everything really, if we kind of, as we go through the price, the charts here, we'll see all of these structures really kind of look like they're ready to just explode. So it's kind of fun. I probably won't spend too much time today digging through this because it's all going to be wildly different tomorrow. But I just kind of did want to do a cursory run through the charts and sort of look at some potential upside targets and try and make of that what I will, I guess. So let's start with Bitcoin. I wanted to zoom out on the weekly here and just kind of try and get a sense of what some of these upside targets look like. Initially, I had this wick here, but at this point, I kind of think that's conservative. I feel like it's gonna run harder than that. And so what are the next levels to look at here? And I've really kind of come up to this level here, this next set of candles. So let's move it up to here. And even 53,000, could be a little bit conservative there ultimately, because if it just does one big pump and then kind of, everybody sells the news or sells the event rather, then sure, maybe it gets up to here. But if it wants to run for a little bit, it could even go higher up into this next range of candle bodies, upwards of potentially 60. I think I'm not going to predict a new all-time high. I'm not saying that. I don't think that'll happen. I think it's too soon for that. Of course, I could be wrong, but really in terms of previous price history, all we have to go on is this bit right here, and then this sort of the top of this cluster right here. I'm not going to look at the bodies, but rather I'm the wicks rather, but just the bodies. And so that would put it upwards of, I'm going to say 60,000 is probably the high side, but somewhere in the 50s seems more likely to me, just depending on how long it decides it wants to run, whether it's, a day or three, or if we go back and look at in terms of like the 60-day cycle, it could run for, well, what are we on? Another two to 3 weeks even. I mean, we're on day 17 now. So, another 23, 20, 24 or 5 days, something like that, before we kind of level off. And then I think from there, I'm anticipating a pretty sizable, pretty lengthy, pretty deep correction, because this has just been running for so long. And I've been saying this already for, a few weeks now, that we're well overdue. And really the only thing that's been propping up these markets this whole time has been this ETF. And now the day is finally upon us. And so now we get the final pump. And then, everybody kind of just takes a collective sigh of relief, takes their foot off the gas, sentiment resets, and, everything kind of just tails off from there. And I guess as far as what could that look like, let's do a couple of things here. Let's get me a polyline. So let's just say hypothetically, we go up to 50, let's just say 55. I'm not going to say when or for how long. I don't know. First week of February, 55. Now, what would that look like as far as a 30% correction? That would put us right back down to, a little bit below where we are right now. And that's totally not even possible, but likely, honestly. Like, I think, yeah, we're going to see this crazy blow up, but honestly, a month from now, we actually could be trading lower than where we are today. And in fact, I think the odds are above 50% that happens. I don't think it'll trade like that for very long. I don't think it'll be a huge deal. I mean, that's just how it works. I think another number I'm sort of looking out for is this CME gap that where does that peak out at? 39,640. So this gap right here, it's got to come down to 39,640 to fill in this CME gap that happened a while back. And where is this here? 39. Well, what do you know? That's that's right about where this is here. 30% correction. So that's almost lines up perfectly. Pump up to 55, 55-ish, 56, and then drop back down 30. Fill in this CME gap at 39,640, and then just run sideways into the halving around April, and then it's off to the races again from there. So something like that actually is very, very plausible indeed. And I'm going to operate on the, relative assumption that that's what's going to happen. That's going to be kind of how I'm positioning myself mentally and sort of with my charts, or with my funds too. I'll probably look to take some profit off, somewhere. I don't know when or how, and I'm not expecting to get the execution 100% because you never do. You never know when the peak is in the moment, and you never know how long it's going to take, if it's going to go, last a week or two or three, like I said. So I'm just going to kind of look for a general range. I think if we get up to low 50s, 52, 53, to me, that's a good number to start taking money off the table. Anything above that, whatever, you're not going to catch the perfect peak anyway. So I'm looking at that. And honestly, I mean, if you really wanted to be conservative, you'd come back down to this wick here, which is just at 48. So that's not a very big jump from here. I feel like we'll just blow right through that. But really, honestly, once we hit up 48, 49, be looking to take profit off. If you're position trading this, if you're long term, don't do anything. Just forget about it and just ride through this next bunch, because you'll probably be better off anyway, because you don't have to worry about botching the execution or not. You're just gonna end up with more money in the end. So, but if you were gonna play this and you did want to take profit off in the short term, this is kind of the range I'm gonna be looking for, anywhere between 48, 52, 55, somewhere in there. Then look for a 30% correction. Maybe it comes down even a little bit more, but look for us to be trading back around this level, like I said, in a month from now. So, yeah. And if we're higher, then great. but whatever. I wanted to look at ETH Bitcoin because I think that this is going to nuke again. Like I said, I think we're going to get one more big red candle here. And then maybe at that point, once Bitcoin comes up and tops up in this range here, we're going to see huge wick down here on the Bitcoin ETH chart. And that's could be a good time to kind of rotate into ETH. In fact, I think it's going to be a good time to rotate into a lot of alts. And in fact, I'm probably going to, me personally, I'm going to sell my Bitcoin position because I don't have a huge Bitcoin position anyway. It's only like 15 or 20% of my portfolio at the most. And I'll probably look to exit it completely and put it into other alts, because I think after this, we're going to kind of rotate out of Bitcoin. Sure, we're going to have the demand coming from the ETFs, but I don't know that, like, I think as far as the current demand, that's already mostly priced in. Like the demand that's sort of waiting on the outside for this, I don't think we have a giant wall of billions of dollars literally sitting there at the gate, waiting for the word go to come and dump into Bitcoin on the first day. I just don't see that. I think that demand is going to trickle in a little bit more slowly. It's going to ramp up. It's going to be slowly, and then it's going to kind of all at once, but it's not going to be immediately right out of the gate. That's why I think we are going to see this lull. And then I think as, we get a little bit later into the year, then we'll start to see that external demand via the ETF product come in and start pumping the price of Bitcoin. But in this month here, in this next 2 months, in this quarter, I haven't seen any indication that that's the case, So again, going back to this, I feel like Bitcoin is going to kind of level off, and we're going to see a huge alt run, and ETH probably is going to be a chunk of that. We've already seen right around Christmas Day, Christmas weekend, we did see a pretty good rotation into ETH and the ETH ecosystem across a lot of different projects. And I think that that's probably going to continue. And also I've mentioned too, that as soon as the Bitcoin ETF gets approved, we know that all those same companies are going to turn around and jump on an Ethereum ETF too. And so, granted, my personal thoughts on that is ETH is becoming a little bit more of like a boomer product in that sense, in that like the Ethereum token itself, what I mean by, in that, you know, it's going to attract a lot of outside interest from people who aren't really deeply, you know, down the rabbit hole in the crypto ecosystem and don't necessarily realize already that there's other, you know, smart contract platforms, there's other layer ones, there's other layer twos that maybe are where you should be focused right now, but they're going to go, well, you know, all the no coiners out there that are going to come at this through the avenue of the ETFs, the only thing they've ever heard of is Bitcoin and Ethereum. So of course they're going to go, oh, well, I got some Bitcoin. Maybe if I want to take it a step further, I'm going to buy some of that Ethereum ETF now that it's a thing too. Having no idea that like all of the people that are in crypto every day have already moved way beyond Ethereum, you know, so it doesn't matter. It's still going to provide a boost for Ethereum. And, you know, why not ride it? It doesn't really matter why. The why never matters in crypto. And if you get hung up on the why, I think you're hung up on the wrong thing a lot of the time. And you just need to be focused on the momentum, you know, to a large degree. So I think ETH will have a bit of a run. Right now, it doesn't look as good as Bitcoin even. It's just kind of flat. It had a really big, ugly wick down yesterday. By the way, yesterday was nothing. Yesterday was just let's kind of go back to this chart here. You know, all these charts we have everything had a big ugly red day yesterday. That was a couple of there was too much open interest, there was too much leverage in the space, and all it took was one stupid little catalyst, this dumb article that came out that, you know, it just was a little bit of FUD, and all it was is enough to kind of, you know, cause a liquidation cascade. I'm sure there was more to it than that too. I know I'm oversimplifying it. I know there were other factors. Primarily, there was just too much leverage in the space, and we you know, it needed to be fleshed out, and that's really all that happened. It wasn't anything fundamentally had changed, and so we kind of just saw it across the board. And so every chart I'm going to look at has a big ugly red wick from yesterday, and it's nice because pretty much everything now is back above where it was yesterday. And some are even doing better still. So a lot of them really just mean reverted. They came down, they either closed at or above their 20-day moving average and just kind of reset, you know, and now they're ready to launch. And everything is looking amazing today. I mean, if you look at my watch list, everything's well in the green. Some of these are double digits. And this is, you know, everything looks great. So yeah, I mean... except for Tau, except for BitTensor, which is sort of its own thing. It sort of runs with its own momentum and it has its own thing going. And there's a big development coming up on the 9th for BitTensor that I think will help correct this price. It's not going to get as caught up. Part of the problem with BitTensor too is there's very, very little circulating supply. It's difficult to trade. It is on a handful of smaller exchanges, but the liquidity is so low that it doesn't really take much to move the needle at all, because first of all, the circulating supply is only like 5.6 million tokens or so, which isn't a lot. And then on top of that, 90% of it is staked in validators. So granted, you can unstake it at any time with no unlock, so that's not like a huge barrier, but it more just goes to show the interest in participating in the ecosystem that this project has. And so most of those people that are staked aren't really interested in selling it. So that's more what that's a reflection of. And so BitTensor is going to have sort of its own unique price action that's maybe less subject to the whims of the market to a larger degree. Zero Knowledge, similar case, although it does look a little bit better. But it also is a very low liquidity, low volume, low supply, low market cap project, you know, much lower market cap than BitTensor, for example. But I shouldn't even be looking at this chart in terms of TA actually. So let's move on to some of these other ones. Metis. So here's a good example. This one looks really good. It came back, touched its 10-day, you know, didn't have too bad of a wick down yesterday, and then is just bumping hard back up off its 10-day again. Like this will be setting a new high, you know, tomorrow, I'm sure, like without a doubt. And a lot of these look just like this. Celestia is having a crazy day. It was up over 30+% earlier today. It's kind of come back to earth a little bit, but set a new all-time high. This thing is just, it's, you know, the sky's the limit for this thing, and it's just continuing to go nuts. AVAX had a little bit more of a rollover than say Solana did, for example. It structurally broke down a little bit more. It had all the way, it's 10-day cross down below its 20. Price has been trading down below it, bouncing off the bottom of the bands, and not really, struggling to get back above it. I still think AVAX is fine. It'll probably jump. Everything's going to jump tomorrow anyway, but like if I was going to position myself in a couple of these projects, I don't know that AVAX would be one of them. Certainly like compared to Metis and a couple of these other ones I'm going to get to. But I think this is worth looking at for comparison's sake anyway. This is one that I really super late to the party on this, just got turned on to it today. I feel like kind of a loser for that because it's been really just running since, October. And I think this one looks actually pretty good. Like normally I would say something like this, general rule of thumb, this is overextended, don't buy this. But the volume is just pouring in still, above average volume more often than not, outside of a couple days on the weekends. We're going to blow past the average. We've still got hours left in the day. And this is just, yesterday it set an all-time high outside of this goofy wick here. And tomorrow, I'm sure it's going to set another one. And I feel like this is just ready to run because the market cap on this is only like 1.6 billion, give or take, something like that. So it's still a pretty small project. And, it still has lots and lots of room to go. And it hasn't really gone up a ton. It's not like it went up, 30x or whatever. I think, what is this actually from the bottom? It's really only... so it went up like a 9x. That's a lot, sure. But a lot of stuff went up a 9x, that still is, quote, healthy, I feel like, in terms of its price action. And I would put that in this category, even though it's still running hard. It's running along the top of the bands. We've already had a pretty big correction here, and you could argue that maybe we're due for another one. But I think, again, tomorrow with the ETF launch, everything is just going to kind of run and do one last big final leg up, whether that's again 2 days or 2 weeks, I don't know. But this, if I was going to bet on one that I felt like was going to run, this definitely would be in that conversation. So I think this is an interesting chart to look at. Rune looks a lot like, in fact, it looks almost just like AVAX, which is funny because they're sort of these, not legacy alts. I don't want to, well, technically they're kind of legacy alts. But I still think Rune probably will run too. It structurally looks a lot like AVAX though. I don't know that I would go into this right now either, but it's definitely going to go places this cycle. Helium is another one that I'm really intrigued by, and this is actually super intriguing. It did break down a fair bit, which I'm not surprised because it did go a little nuts. Let's see what it did. It did, from like here. Oops. Yeah, it didn't actually even go up as much as that Sui did. But it, I think tailed off earlier. It was back in sort of before the Christmas weekend. It was kind of the first rotation. It was part of the Solana run up, and everything kind of rotated out of Solana around December 20th and rotated into Ethereum ecosystem around that date. And so you'll see a lot of the Solana projects topping out around December 20th. I wonder, did Solana top out around December 20th too? Oh no, it went all the way to the 25th. But actually it ran. Okay, well anyway, so Helium topped out, but it's had a nice correction. It's sort of broken its structure down, and it's had a huge reversal here, huge momentum divergence. We've got a big looks like a 6 spot on that bullish divergence reversal, plus a buy signal from the same set of indicators. So this is one that could very well punch up and set a new high. And this is actually like if you were going to buy the dip on something, this is one that I would look at, to be buying the dip on right now. But again, all of these plays are really going to be short-term plays because the whole market is sort of expected to nuke in the not too distant future. So, but if this was something that I thought was maybe going to ride up a little bit more than most, yeah, I like this. I like this chart. And just kind of a last view, Injective continues to look really, really strong still. It had a correction similar-ish to Rune, but just, oops, I hate when I do that. Yeah, I mean, it had a correction similar to those other ones, but it's still really, it didn't break down too much. And yeah, it's like it pumped up. It did a technical reversal on the daily, but then it's just been sideways and it's just leveled off, and it hasn't really gone on and set new lows. I mean, yeah, this wick, but I'm not really counting this wick because it was just an anomaly. So I really like how this has just really held its level, held support here, and I think that this is. I'm not even looking at the right chart. Am I? I meant injective. Well, anyway, same thing with injective. Yeah, I like how it's held, and it's kind of pumping back up. It's right back in the range here for this sideways range, and it's back above its 20-day and its 10-day, and this is a good looking chart to me. Pocket is another one I think that looks really, really strong. It barely dipped yesterday. I mean, it was mostly in the green yesterday already, and then came down and sort of had this kind of hammer looking candle at the bottom, and then immediately just boom, right back up to where it was. So Pocket is actually honestly one of the stronger looking charts I feel like right now. Pocket I put right up there with this SEI. I don't even know what this is. SEI looks really strong. I think Pocket looks really strong too. Pocket had a nice correction and it's running too, and it's just showing lots of relative strength. I actually want to see, let me pull up a different chart that's on a exchange. I don't know which one of these has the most volume. We'll try KuCoin. I just wanted to get a sense of the volume. Let's try that. No. Well, anyway, regardless, the volume isn't pumping crazy like it is over on this SEI. Like, this is what you want to look for. Like, this clearly has people's attention. But oops. Pocket, I think this is strong. Okay, let's see. Mark, what do we got here? Hey Chris, you wouldn't buy the dip on AVAX and even sure. As far as AVAX, yeah, you could buy the dip on AVAX. The problem with AVAX, I feel like, is its market cap is a lot higher than a lot of these other ones that I'm looking at, and so it takes more to move the needle. Also, the volume is really tailing off, and so I think just because I'm looking at such a short-term window right now, I'm really looking at what I think could move the most, and because so many of these charts look more or less the same to a large degree, I'm kind of trying to figure out, okay, well, they're all going to pump, of course, and AVAX surely will pump, without a doubt, but if I wanted to try and guess which one is going to pump more than others, I'm going to look for stuff that has a lower market cap, stuff that has a lot more volume and a lot more attention going on right now. Let me look at a different exchange though, because who knows? Well, Binance should be the most, but well, there's certainly more volume on Coinbase, but still, even with that, we can see the volume is generally trending down, and has been for a while, even before it peaked. Even like volume tailed off back here, and it came up and it peaked and then has been tailing down ever since, and volume has just been continuing to go down. So I'm looking for stuff more like Helium, but I got too many damn charts, but it's stuff like Metis, stuff like this SEI, stuff that has much smaller market caps, for more of a short-term play. So I hope that kind of answers your question. Because I think that those are going to potentially move more. And this one too, I think, yes, this one has a similar volume profile to Helium or to AVAX, but much smaller market cap. And I like it because it's in the Solana ecosystem. I like it because it's an infrastructure play. I do think that this is just going to, potentially run more. And it has more to go, I think, to get up to its high than maybe AVAX did. Plus, it'll take a whole lot less to move this needle. So that's maybe why I would look at some of these other ones over AVAX. Pocket too, and then definitely not Jito. There was a couple other ones I had a couple of requests for some other ones. Hedera, HBAR. So this chart just looks okay to me. The thing that stands out the most is the Bitcoin pair, in that, here's the opening, the 2023 opening, and it really underperformed Bitcoin the entire year, and it hasn't even gotten back up to break even against Bitcoin since the beginning of 2023. Yeah, and Mark, to answer your question, yes, I think yes, it has more room to go, but also because the market cap is so much lower, it takes far less money to move the needle than it does something like AVAX. AVAX just has, I don't remember what the market cap of AVAX. Well, here, let me just look real quick. It's big. I mean, it's in the tens of billions, whatever it is. Bear with me for just a second. Yeah, AVAX, it's ranked number 9. It's got a 14 billion market cap, whereas SEI has like a 1.6 billion dollar market cap. So very far less money to make the price move in that case, and so it takes far less demand to and all of that. So yeah, yes, that. So Hedera, I don't know about Hedera. I mean, yeah, clearly it's bottomed out against Bitcoin. It looks like it's back up above the bull market support band, though the band itself is really just kind of flat and sideways. It hasn't really kind of rounded up yet against Bitcoin. It has on the USD pair, but it hasn't really. It's really lagging behind the rest of the party, I would say. It did kind of bottom out technically here, but really here was when it started running, and that was only, when was that? October, and then, oh, this is weekly. Well, whatever. Still, actually, okay. So it ran in October. It's up. It's only up 110% since October. There's been plenty of stuff that's gone up 4, 5, 6, 10x in that period of time. And so I don't know. I guess in terms of would I buy this? No, I wouldn't buy this right now. I don't know a ton fundamentally about it. So, but more to the point, I don't feel like it has the momentum. I mean, the volume is just totally flat on Binance, and that just looks ugly. We can try it on on a different exchange maybe to see, like, what is it on Coinbase USD? It's a much smaller chart, but volume is ticking up, so I guess that's something. But still, I don't know. To me, this doesn't jump out at me as something that I feel like I would want to jump on. And then the other one was Ordi. This one went nuts. This one I feel like. Let me see if I can get some volume on this one. Oops. Huh. Is there tether pairs or what's going to have the most? I guess let's try Binance. Get this on the daily. I mean, this is, I think this chart will do well. I know what this project is. I think Bitcoin, ordinals will do well, Bitcoin NFTs. And I think that this is definitely something that's got people's attention. It's got buzz. I think building out infrastructure on Bitcoin is definitely one of the meme plays of this cycle, and I think that this project will continue to do well. I'm not knee deep in the weeds fundamentally with this to know what's going to drive the price action, but this is definitely a good looking chart, and I get why it's going up. And I do like too that it has leveled off, it pumped up, it has leveled off. It's kind of, to me, it seems like it's ready for another breakout, really, and we'll probably see another breakout in the coming days with it. So yeah, this is not a bad play. I'm personally not going to do it, but I can see why people would, and I like the chart. I think it looks good. Obviously, it's generally moving up in the right direction. It hasn't been around long enough to really establish a ton of price action on weekly time frames, but I like too that it's not too crazy parabolic. Yeah, it had this big run here. It had this big run out of the gate, and then another big run here, but it's generally been sideways and just kind of slowly grinding up, and so that's a healthy sign too, that you haven't kind of missed the boat yet on it. So I know this coin isn't easily accessible to everybody, particularly in the US, but I do think that this is something to have on your watch list, your radar for sure, and continue to follow it. And if you can get your hands on it, that's probably worth doing. So Yeah, I think that's probably it. Most, the big story is going to be tomorrow. So Monday's show will be much more interesting, I think, and much different. But really kind of what I can see is that to a large degree, and there's probably 50 more charts I could have gone through today that all kind of look the same. And every one of them are going to pump for the most part, 99% of them are anyway. And so it's like, you just throw money in and it's going to go up. Some are going to go up more than others, but your money's going to go up. So just kind of, just don't worry about getting into everything. Don't worry about buying 17 different things. Really, it's more important, I think, to focus on just a handful of things in a scenario like this, where we know we're going to have a lot of volatility, coming into a lot of volatility, because the more spread out you are, say there's 10 different alts that you want to get into that all look like, this Metis, or all look like this SCI. And next thing you know, you've got 10 or 15 of these, and then it comes time to sell, and the peak happens, and they're spread out all over the place, and you got to jump on 5 different exchanges, and you got to do all kinds of different, stuff to sell these. And some of them have a lot less liquidity than others. And so they're going to move a lot faster, and the order books are going to be really thin, and you're going to have a lot of slippage. And the last thing you want to be doing when it's time to get out and people are dumping is trying to sell in that moment, all of these small cap coins. So just kind of pick a handful and try to find the place where they have the most liquidity, and get your order set, and kind of just pick a place to get your profits and get out. Try to use other people as exit liquidity instead of being exit liquidity. You don't want that. You want to be the person who's kind of already got their sort of shit in order and have their everything in place and is ready to just kind of capitalize on the volatility, as opposed to be a victim of the volatility. And sitting on 17 different alt tokens that are all microcaps are going to put you in a spot where you're going to end up being the victim. So just kind of keep that in mind in this sort of next short-term scenario. And Mark, I'll look at that here in a second. Just like me personally, I'm 50% in like Solana because it's tons of liquidity. It's on every major exchange. I've already got my sell order set that I'm going to use to get out. And then, Bitcoin, and then I've got a handful of other stuff that I don't plan on selling no matter what happens in this short term. They're more longer term holds. So in terms of my short term stuff that I'm even going to act on, it's like Bitcoin and Solana, because I know that I can control that and easily. And so that's what I'm looking at. I may caveat, I may jump out into one or two of these other charts a little bit tonight. I probably shouldn't, but I might. And even if I do, I'll probably look to like I said, set sell orders ahead of time, so that when it pumps, there's my exit liquidity, and I can get in and just look for it as like just a very short term day trade, swing trade kind of thing, where you've already got your structure in place. You've already got your target in place. Don't worry about it going up 10x above that, because that's not the play for right now. Nothing is going to do that in the next week or two. It's just going to be this kind of huge run and then drop. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. Okay. WLD. What do we got here? I don't think I have, that doesn't sound familiar. So I think I'm gonna have to make a new chart. What do we got here? Give me just a quick second. WLD. Let's see. I guess Binance. I'll go with Binance. It usually has the most volume. Hopefully this is the entire chart. I don't know. I'm actually not familiar with this. I should have copied another chart. But let me just get some indicators here real quick. Okay. Yeah. So as a long-term hold, I don't know if I can answer that. Only because I don't know anything about. Usually, if I'm going to hold something long-term, I can't just look at the chart. I need sort of a fundamental thesis for why I would want to hold it long-term. And since I don't actually know anything about this, I don't know that I can comment on that really specifically. But I can tell you that this chart does look good. I don't know what happened here. I'm assuming it was some news event, and then it happened. Actually, I am curious just in terms of the market cap. Let me just pull it up on here real quick. WLD. I know you can't see this, but I'm just looking at it like on CoinMarketCap real quick. Oh, WorldCoin. Okay, sure. Yeah, I know what that is. I've heard of that. Yes. Never mind. I do know what this is. Okay, so long term, yeah, it's probably good. I do like that the market cap is really, really low right now. It's only 349 million, so it's got definitely plenty of room to run. I don't love the total supply. It's got 10 billion tokens is a lot for me. But that doesn't mean that it still can't go up a lot. I mean, it doesn't mean that the market cap still can't get up to 10 times this or, you know, I mean, yeah, it's got plenty of room to run. You're probably okay with this as a long-term hold. Let's see, bull market indicator. No, it's not a premium indicator. It's a, hold on, trading view. Oops. Where's my trading view? Here we go. So bull market support band is just here. I have it starred, but it's just bull market support band by, I don't know who this Legro Zach is, the person that created it. So the bull market support band is just it's basically the 20-week moving average, simple moving average, and then the 21-week exponential moving average. And so what that looks like here on a chart that has it, like Solana, for example. So the red one is the 20-week moving average. The green one is the 21-week exponential moving average. And then they sort of create this sort of clouded band as they work together. And you can, I generally, before I started using this, I was primarily using the 20-week moving average as sort of my larger high time frame sort of macro trend indicator anyway. And anytime, like if you go back to, like if we look at like Bitcoin here, for example, with the 20-week. Well, now, so the 20-week is basically this red line that goes through. It's part of the bull market support band. But like I would use this as the go-to sort of make or break. God, I got all this crap here. Hold on, let me get rid of this. Hide drawings. Okay. So like anytime it would break down after a big long trend in one way or the other, anytime it breaks down below that red line, the 20-week moving average, typically I was looking at that as like a major macro trend reversal. And especially again here after the second peak in November of 2021, once it broke down here, to me, this meant trend over. This meant time to get out. Granted, I didn't at the time, but this is now sort of my go-to de facto make or break long trend indicator. And so once price starts breaking down or breaking up above or below the 20-week moving average, generally it's going to stay there for a while. Even in this case, you know, when it broke down here, it broke down in May, it didn't really get back above it, you know, for 3 months. It was like that whole summer. I don't know if you were active in the market back then, but like that whole summer, it was down, and it just kind of kept going and it was ugly. And so even selling here and then selling here, you would have done really, really well. Granted, had you bought back in around here, you would have had to, in order to play the second run. But just my point being, the 20-week moving average is a really strong indicator for that. And so I liked just this bull market support band, which incorporates that 20-week moving average. And so I've been kind of using that as my default sort of longer macro trend indicator. So if something is trading below that line, that 20-week moving average, I generally am not interested in it. So anyway, yeah, I think so. Yeah, as far as World token, it's probably going to do well. It's probably a pretty solid long-term hold. And I would need to dig into it personally before I decided it was a fit for me. But I do think that, you know, fundamentally what they're trying to do is solid. I think I think the market cap is in the right place for it to have plenty of room to go. And it's probably going to do well as well as, you know, a bunch of this other stuff. So, yeah. Anyway, hope that answers your question. So, yeah, I guess that's probably it. I think that's kind of all I have. I don't really have any other charts. Let me touch on market cap dominance real quick. I saw that alts rolled over, which I'm not at all surprised. I saw that Bitcoin tipped up, which I'm also not at all surprised. And I think that Bitcoin is going to set another leg higher, possibly even break this level right here because of the ETF. So we're going to see this kind of revert probably back to this trend line here. Let me kind of extend this a little bit. So we'll probably see it revert back to this trend line here and then kick back upwards again. So yeah. Again, not a big deal. I don't think that the overall larger alt dominance trend is going to break. I think that it'll just kind of mean revert back to its trend and then kick back up again. So that's my take there. I'm not really down on alts or anything. It's just I'm playing the short-term market dynamics that are happening with the ETF. So that's kind of all that. And Mark, thank you for the interaction. I appreciate that too, and I enjoy that. So anybody else wants to hop on and comment and request stuff, I'm happy to engage. So all right, yeah, I think that's it. So everybody kind of buckle up for the weekend. It's probably going to be a wild ride. Don't get too crazy. Don't position yourself in too many different things, and don't make yourself exit liquidity. Get your orders in ahead of time and be prepared to play this the right way. So I'll be back on Monday and we'll sort of see where everything lies. Oh wait, what do we got? Fully 32 billion. Yeah, exactly. All right. Okay. Anyway,